Welcome to the Israel Guys and the Land of Israel Network, where we believe that in a world of anti-Israel propaganda and Jew hatred, you should have a direct connection to the land and the people of Israel. And today we have the people of Judea to introduce you guys to, and an exciting announcement that the Israel Guys are starting a new weekly roundtable show coming out every Friday on the Israel Guys platforms and hopefully also the Land of Israel Network channels, in partnership with Jeremy Gimpel, Ari Abramowitz, both Orthodox Jewish rabbis living on the tip of, on the tip of Judea, the Judean hills, right? Is that a good way to say it?
The Judean frontier.
The Judean frontier, basically where David hung out, right? When David wrote the Psalms, hiding out in the caves, this is where he hung out. The Arrow Goat Farms. If you guys come to the Land of Israel, you have to visit them. But we're super excited to be starting a brand new show here at the Israel Guys with these two amazing guys. You're definitely going to want to subscribe, follow along, whether you're watching, listening, whatever channel you're on, you're going to want to stay tuned because this is coming weekly. And we could not be more excited.
Luke, I just want to butt in here because though these guys are new faces, maybe to some of the audience, you guys have had your fair bit of media attention with one of the most famous English shows going out, Tuesday Night Live, way back in the day. You two ran for Knesset. People know you guys more than
I think we should.
Luke and I.
I think we should say too that we're probably 17 and 18 sitting in the audience of one of those shows.
Yeah, we were
way back in the day.
You're exactly.
And
right.
all I remember is I was shocked that there was I don't know, 600 people or something live in the audience filming a TV show.
We were in radio before that, and then we went to TV, and it became clear we have better faces for radio.
And now you're back on TV. So I mean,
the fun thing is for me is that we're doing this together. We've known each other now for about 20 years, and we've built everything we've done here in Israel has been together, even though that it wasn't on camera like it is today. So I'm really excited about what's kicking off here today as a weekly show together with the Judean front and us up here in Samaria. We're combining our hasbara, as they say here in Israel, our advocacy for Israel. And I think this is going to be a powerhouse show that everybody better tune into.
Yeah, I think there's also a beautiful journey in that. It's not only about Judea and Samaria, but also when we first met each other, I'll be honest, I had a little bit of skepticism, and I was like, what do they want? They want to convert me. They wanted this. And then we became friends, and then good friends, and then best friends, and now literally like family. Literally like family. And I think that is a prototype for a spiritual growth that is happening in the world today. And all of us, we just had a prayer together before starting this, exactly about that there's something redemptive and historic that I feel, at least in my heart, is happening here. It's more than just this program, but I think what's happening, I feel a spark of it here right now. So I'm really grateful to you guys and excited to be a part of it.
I think our relationship even got closer during the show when I, grabbed that hair off your nose before
right.
we started. That I thought that was,
he was like, I hope this isn't attached. That's a brother.
I think it might have been a mistake to put Josh and Ari on the same side of the table. Next time, we're going to move you across from each other.
Anyway, Luke, you're moderator.
So, Ari, for the two people watching that don't know who you are, just tell us a little bit about who you are and your background. You came directly from military reserve duty.
That's right. I'm in reserves
this morning, right?
Right now I'm in reserves, and I went to great lengths to be able to come here. I am going to be serving back-to-back 8-hour shifts throughout the night, but it's worth it to make this happen. So my name is Ari Yehuda Abramowitz. It means Lion of Judah, son of Abraham. I was born in Texas. I'm not from Texas. I was born in Texas.
That's right.
Because of the exile of the Jewish people and the destruction of the temple. So that's where I was born. And it's important to say that because we have to know our story. If I say I'm from Texas, well, then why am I here in Israel? Why are we in Judea? We are from Judea. There's no people in the world that are more indigenous to a land than Jews are to Judea. So right after high school, came to Israel, supposed to be for a few months, and to learn Torah. And after breathing the air and living the life and learning the Bible in the hills of Jerusalem, I realized that I could never possibly leave. And then Jeremy and I started our historic friendship. He became my commander in the army. And we have a great journey. There's a long story. I could go on for the entirety of this thing, but that's it. I'm a Jew in Judea. I have some chickens, Jeremy's got some sheep. We have a farm, and we're just trying to live a good Jewish life in Judea.
Jeremy, anything to add on that? Just a little bit of your background?
Well, I guess my grandfather walked from Russia to Israel in 1916. I was born in Atlanta, Georgia, on the legends of my grandfather that I never met. And when I came out to the Arrow Goat Farm, I saw my partner Yossi planting olive trees in the middle of the desert. And I said, you can still be a pioneer in 2020? Like, that's an option? I was like, I want that. And then Ari and I both moved out to the Ari goat farm, which is at the edge of Jewish settlement in Judea. And really, that's been my life for the last 10 years now. And so we've always been working for Israel, talking the talk, radio and television and media and podcasts. But we feel like the Ari goat farm is sort of the outward manifestation of all of our words, walking the walk and then talking the talk. So now that's all that I have to say is to come to the Ari goat farm and then you'll see.
Yeah, I'm grateful actually that we're all together now, because sometimes it's a truth that who you are speaks so much louder than what you say. And so Jeremy and I, we talk a lot. You know, you guys have an incredible show, the Israel guys, that is, you were just awarded in the Knesset. Mazel tov, well deserved yesterday, and well deserved.
Thank you.
If there's anyone that deserves it, because I just want to say the Israel guys is so incredible and unique, because there's a psalm, Shir Amalot B'shuv Hashem Etzion Hainu Kecholmim, when we return to Zion we'll be like dreamers. It says, and then the nations will say, Az Yomru Vagoim, and then the nations will say, Higdil Hashem Lasot Yimela, look at the great things God has done with you. And then the Jews will say, look at the great things God has done with us. I know there are tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of Jews watching your program that are touched deeply in a way that no Jew can potentially do, because they're hearing it from you. And it's such a validation and a confirmation, and I'm grateful that you exist. I don't remember what that was connected to, but
thank you. Appreciate that.
We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're looking back 2024, and I'm going to do something that wasn't in the notes, even though, we all have different notes here, so it's all good. But this is not, we're looking back at what happened in Israel in 2024, right? And this is not a show to talk about October 7th, but I do just quickly, I want to talk about like what changed, or what's something on October 7th that like gave some of us like a new perspective, or what's like a new focus that it gave. Like, where were we on October 7th? Like, who wants to start on that? And just quickly, like how did that 15 months ago, October 7th, how did that springboard us into where we are today and what's happened in the last 15 months?
I can answer that. October 7th broke my heart in a way that has never been broken before. But a broken heart means that it's a little bit more open. And so here we are now with Hayovel and the Israel guys for the first time in 20 years, because our heart is open now to new things, new ways of seeing the world, new realities that will unfold. And so that brokenness in some ways was only for the good, because otherwise my heart was closed up and Israel's heart was closed up. And our broken heart has brought us closer together. We're more independent. We're stronger. We're more united. Like, that brokenness fixed us in so many ways. And so that's, in some ways, that's, it's like where we are now, 2025. You look back at where we were just 1 year ago, and it's like the whole world is different. And it's like, Hodu Hashem ki tov, ki leolam chasto. Give thanks to God, for his chesed is forever. His loving kindness is forever. But leolam doesn't just mean forever. It means that God's loving kindness can only be seen in a forever perspective. So it's like in October 7th, like, where is God? What's happening? Evil's running the world. What's going on here? And it's like, wait a minute, now it's 2025. Sinwar is gone. Yechaniah, the head of Hamas outside of Gaza, is gone. The president of Iran, he's gone. Nasrallah, the head of Lebanon, Hezbollah, he's gone. Assad has fallen. The world is now a better place, and our hearts are more open. So October 7th was like the shift that made the 2024 the movement to where we are now.
Not only are they gone, Jeremy, but they're gone at the hands of Israel without the blessing of foreign countries.
Yeah.
Meaning that was a big part of the awakening that has happened on October 7th. Like, if you're a truly believing, religious, God-fearing Jew, you believe obviously there's one God, or even more true, God is one, and that everything he does is for the good. And what that means is that everything that happens to us, even the greatest seeming tragedies, don't happen to us, they happen for us. They happen for us. And as difficult and painful as it is to say, October 7th happened for us, and there is an awakening happening in the hearts of the nation of Israel, particularly in the land of Israel. And that's one of the things, what you said, is like, we had allowed ourselves to become this sort of subjugated vassal state, in an unhealthy codependent relationship with other countries, and we had to realize, no, we're actually on our own here, and we need to put our faith where our faith belongs, put our faith in God and do what we need to do, and that has really woken us up. And I think that that is the difference, in my mind, between salvation and redemption. Salvation is when we say, we're surrounded by 23 Arab states, 57 Muslim countries. They're coming in on us. God, help us, save us. And he saves us. Redemption is where we're able to look back and see all of the tragedies and the pain and the horror and see how all of that was necessary to bring about this light and redemption that we will be facing soon. So when I was going through this question of what are we going to talk about on this show, what are the highlights of the last year, it depends. Are we seeing it with redemptive eyes? Because with eyes of redemption, in some ways, the lowest, darkest places, eventually when the day comes, we'll look back and see the most light came from the deepest darkness.
Well, I would think that is so true in the response of Israel, like you guys are just outlining. But I think one of the things that we didn't clearly say is that the culture of Israel has changed to the point where we see a totally different nation there. You guys alluded to this, that the people are different today than they were then. But my question is, how do you see that actually playing out? Are these people that are walking around the streets of Israel, even Tel Aviv? Everybody looks at Tel Aviv, oh, it's a very secular town or whatever. I think that Tel Aviv is changing. And
everything has changed.
Everything has changed. And I think that the Jewish person of today, of 2024, the past year, since we're talking about that, we're recapping 2024, those people are much more God-fearing, much more God-centered people. Is that correct?
I think we're just more centered people in general. Like we've returned to ourselves. And so in the depths of ourselves is a soul that's connected directly to God. So we're just becoming who God created us to be. That's the ultimate goal. And we will go there one way or the other. We can either choose to grow into who we need to be, or we'll be grown into who we need to be.
Yeah. I think one of the greatest manifestations of this exact thing you're talking, this awakening, is in the military. I mean, what did Israel call this war? They called it Charvot Barzel, swords of iron. It's almost like they said, whoever can come up with the most boring, meaningless name for a war, swords of iron. Okay, you got Thursday off. It's like, that's what mean. What did Hamas call it?
Right.
The Al-Aqsa flood.
Yeah.
It was always about Jerusalem. And since then, the prime minister and the ministers have renamed it Milchemet HaHitkomemut, of arising, of awakening, like the war of resurrection.
Wow,
right?
I didn't actually know that. That's
and one of the things that I think is the greatest physical manifestation of that is right here. Yeah. I was in the unit of Golani. Golani has a tree. It's a great unit. It's a proud unit. It's on infantry. It's like the Marines of Israel. Jeremy's in Givati. Tzanchanim have a snake with wings on it. And since this war has broken out, you go to the front lines.
Yeah.
Everybody's taken off all that stuff and put this on. Some manifestation of this. And what does it say? It's got a picture of the temple.
Yeah.
And it says Mashiach, Messiah, because that's what this is about, and that's what we're really fighting for. And some people in the West are like, scared of that. What does that mean? But what they don't understand is that this building, this temple isn't a building. It's a relationship with God and a relationship with man. And if Hamas and Hezbollah understood, if Iran understood the light and love and peace it would bring to them, they would be helping us build it. Yeah. They would be helping us build it, and that's what this is really about.
Which Luke and I can validate that because when we went to Gaza, we literally saw that patch on soldiers.
Well, should we take the opportunity to just clear up, Josh, something that was said on the Israel guys recently? That someone in Israel created this patch, and that someone just happens to be Ari Abramowitz.
It's true.
No. Ari and Jeremy. But when it says this patch, I want to just make something clear. Here's what happened. There was a patch that had the word Mashiach, Messiah, with a crown, and there was one that had the temple. But I was like, it should have the temple and Mashiach together. So we merged them, just like the last week's Haftorah of, Judah and Ephraim, and merged them together. And that's the patch that we came up with. So you did.
So now I'm about to give the worst ad in history. And that is, if you want one of these patches, you're going to have to find Ari Abramowitz in person and ask him for one, because they're not available on the Israel Guys store, and they're not available on the Land of Israel.
Yeah, we're going to put them up. We're going to put them up.
But they will be one day soon, hopefully. So now
I'll tell you why. We had these patches, and there were people that come to the farm or whatever, they bought them, and what that allowed us to do is to buy more and give them out to soldiers.
Yeah.
I love giving them to soldiers because immediately on the spot, their old patch off, on. Yeah. And I'm like, you have tattoos, earrings, you don't keep Shabbat. What does that have to do with it?
Right.
What does that have to do with it? This is what it's about.
So now you guys are welcome to send both of us 1 million emails asking how you can get the patches, and hopefully one day soon. I want to talk about, you guys correct me, Iran attacked Israel not once, but twice in 2024. Has Iran attacked Israel since the times of Queen Esther? I mean, more or less, like the Jewish people? Like, is this like the first time in thousands of years, and not once, but twice in the same year?
Yes, that's true. That's a good point. And when you think about it, when you say Iran, who was the leader then? Haman. Yeah. Right? What did Haman do? Haman essentially had so much vitriolic hatred from such a pure place for Israel that nothing mattered other than the destruction of Israel. And so he built the gallows to hang Mordecai. And who was hung on those very gallows? Haman himself. Yeah. And Iran is doing that right now. We're seeing it play out in our days today. There's a reason that the book of Esther is in the Bible. A book is not just in the Bible because it had historic relevance, only if it has prophetic relevance. And the way that story of Purim played out is exactly how it's going to play out today. And Iran thinks they're creating nukes to wipe Israel off the map. I don't know how this is going to play out, but I'll tell you, I think it's going to end up, they're going to be doing it just to themselves.
All right, my first prediction on the Israel Guys show. This Purim is going to be epic. That's really what I think. I think that there's going to be some sort of showdown with Iran and Israel right around the Purim time. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm saying it would be amazing if that showdown happened and everything was flipped upside down on Iran's head this Purim.
Yeah.
It's only a few months away.
I remember we're at the farm and we are on the tip of settlement. So we didn't have the luxury. When the missiles come in, I put my family in our little safe room and then I'm out patrolling. Yeah. And I saw hundreds of intercontinental ballistic missiles right over my head. Yeah. And it was almost, I didn't actually see God, but I did. Meaning, pop, pop, he's popping them out of the sky. And someone would say, well, that's the Iron Dome technology. Who gave us the knowledge and intellect and ability to do that at the time exactly when we need it the most? And I just felt the wings of protection. Yep. Statistically, their success rate was so low, it's like 1 in a million. That would happen back to back.
No, I also want to say it was the largest ballistic missile attack in world history.
Yeah.
And no one was killed except for one Hamas operative. So they shot all of their missiles on us, and Iran is the leader of Hamas. And all they did was in the most miraculous way possible. Have you seen that video?
Oh my God.
That video, everyone has to see that video because a Hamas operative escaped Gaza, was on his way to do something horrible in Israel.
The guy in Jericho,
and he's just walking around the streets and then
by himself.
By himself, and there happened to be a security camera so we could actually witness the miracles of God, because statistically it doesn't make any sense. And then from the sky, the shrapnel falls directly on the Hamas operative. So the largest ballistic missile attack in world history, meaning we just take the miracles for granted because there were so many miracles in 2024. But that one was the ultimate that I had ever seen.
You know, this is a piece of the rocket here. We've got lots of pieces that landed literally all around us because I was also out on a first response team. And a piece of shrapnel landed about 1.5 feet away from me.
Wow.
So you think about the
miracles. 1.5 feet away from you.
Yeah, because I was standing on guard there on one piece, just in contact with the military. We didn't know what was going to happen. I mean, we're all looking at all these rockets flying over our heads, and we didn't know what kind of insurrection would happen inside, right? That's what you guys are worried about.
We're surrounded by 4
We're literally hearing in the background, Allah Akbar, voices being yelled. I don't know if you guys heard that in Judea. From here in Samaria, it was very clear. It was the roar in the background of the rockets going overhead was Allah Akbar being yelled from all of the Arab villages around. And then a piece of shrapnel lands right beside me. I thank God that piece of shrapnel didn't hit me, but I wonder how many, and there's talk about a miracle of 2024. How many pieces of shrapnel did God just kind of like have to move in order for not one Jewish person or one like myself that's here to support Israel not to be harmed? A lot.
We had a 10-foot missile land on the mountain right across from us. 10 foot, half of the missile fell right there. So yeah, there's just miracles. When you're so surrounded by miracles, then miracles become nature. And that's what nature really is. Nature really is a miracle that's just repeated enough times that it seems like it's, but yeah.
I have something to add.
Go ahead.
Because I've prepared for this show.
Okay.
How many missiles were shot on Israel in all of 2024? It's a good question. From Syria, from Lebanon, from Gaza, from Iran, all of it together.
Yemen.
I'll tell you, because I researched
There's one a day from Yemen right now.
Right, from Yemen, that's another one. But in total, how many missiles were actually shot onto one country in 2024? So according to my research, about 26,000. 26,000 rockets are shot onto a country, maybe the size of New Jersey.
My question is there any comparison for that? Like in history or any other country or other wars or is there another comparison for 26,000 missiles to fall on such a small piece of real estate?
No way. No way. If Mexico just launched 4 rockets onto Texas,
Not Texas,
would have
New
just
Jersey.
taken. Texas would have just taken care of Mexico.
Oh wait, one city in Texas, right?
Right.
So,
Or
but
one county, maybe.
I want to add now a new perspective that I hope this adds to the viewers, because to me, 26 is such a special number. Because 26,000, it's just another spice cart. It's another sign that nothing here is by accident. But if you take Hashem's name, Yud He and Vav He, God's name in the Torah, it equals 26 in Gematria. But then if you also take the Gematria, the Hebrew letters of love, Ahava, Aleph He, Bet He, that's also 26. So Christians tell me a lot of times, they're like, God is love. And I'm like, actually, that's really what the Hebrew there is teaching, is that Hashem and Ahava, they both are 26. So 26,000 rockets, that's actually an expression very clearly, if your eyes are open to it, that God is loving on Israel with rockets. And that's why shrapnel can fall feet away from you, because don't worry, he's guarding. Everything is under his providence. But to me, that was such a highlight.
I remember as this was happening, I was looking up at the sky and just feeling ultimately the truth is help this is all in God's hands. And the words of King David in the mountains in which he composed these words were coming out of my mouth. And this verse just stood so loudly to me. It said, "You shall not be afraid of the terror by night, nor of the arrow that flies by day, nor of the pestilence that walks in the darkness, nor of the destruction that wastes at noonday. 1,000 shall fall at your side, and 10,000 at your right hand, but it shall not come near you. Yipol mitzidcha elef, urvava miminecha elecha lo yigash." And it's just like the words of King David were just flowing through me, because all of a sudden we are in the exact same situation as David was, being chased by Saul, being chased by the armies of Israel, the Philistines all against him. And he's surrounded in the valley of death, and he will fear no evil because God is with him. And here we are.
I heard a really amazing report, and I've not yet verified this, so I shouldn't be saying this right now, but it is so darn cool that I have to say it anyway, and we should verify it later. But I heard that psalm that you just read was one of the top 4 Google searches in Israel the time of the attack.
Wow.
Well, I heard it was number 1.
that.
You heard it was number 1?
Number 1
Okay.
at the first attack.
So I was just making it a little
During
bit
the
softer,
first
but
attack.
you've just upped it even more.
Yeah.
Have you guys verified that?
I believe that.
I remember
I-
that. I don't
That
remember.
happened.
I haven't verified it,
Sure.
but I remember that being said. The point
But
is
that points to the point that we made earlier, that there's a new generation of Israelis.
Well, you brought up Tel Aviv, Josh, and I wanted to speak about that. The most popular song in Israel now is the most amazing song. It's Hashem Yitbarach, Tamid Ohev Oti. The Lord, blessed be He, always loves me. And He's only going to make it better for me and better. And we're only going to get better. And it's only going to be better because God only loves us. And that's in the dance clubs in Tel Aviv now. That's at every wedding. I was just at the most secular wedding that I've been at in years, in the heart of Tel Aviv. And everyone there is dancing, and they're all playing Hashem Ohev Oti, God loves me, God loves me. So something is really changing in the fabric of the culture of the heart of the people of Israel.
Yeah, it's really a mistake to look at Israel ever and to judge it by the externalities. If you want to love Israel as God loves Israel, then read through the Bible and see the nation of Israel rebelling and rebelling and rebelling. And then nonetheless, despite all of it, God blesses them and loves them and says, "You're my chosen people and I love you." And so it's a mistake to look at externalities and superficialities. Something deeply beautiful is happening. There's an awakening happening. But it's painful to wake up. Yeah. It's painful and it's scary. And we're waking up from a coma, a 2,000-year coma right now. And that's what people are saying. And sometimes from the outside, people are like, things are going bad in Israel. But the sages say the chicken grows as the egg decays. Mm-hmm. And from the outside, it may look bad, the egg is decaying, but there's a new life coming forth.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I'll just say that, it's even almost hard to separate the 2 Iranian attacks, except from my perspective, I was actually scheduled to fly back to Israel a few hours after the first Iranian attack. So I'm sitting there looking at my suitcases packed, watching the news and the rockets falling, and the only thing I could think of is why am I not there? Right. So then I was here during the second attack, and I think you're saying, Ari, how in the world could you not see the hand of God or see the miracles or begin to believe in God when you're looking at hundreds of missiles over your head like a light show? And, we're seeing hundreds of missiles streaking. I went up on I think we're the same as you guys. We don't have bomb shelters here. So my wife and children are down in the hallway on the floor, But obviously, because we have the Israel guys, like we got to film this. So I went up on my roof. And Josh had a helmet. He didn't give me a helmet to wear. So I actually,
Josh.
I think I had a vest, but I didn't have a helmet. So I'm standing on the roof, and none of us even had the thought that shrapnel would be falling at that point.
By the way, a helmet wouldn't help much.
Yeah, unless
Yeah,
it's
right.
Maybe like I don't know, even the
That
smaller
piece
probably wouldn't help. But like looking at the missiles, like it was the first time I think I ever was staring death in the face. But at the same time, I wasn't scared, but I'm looking and I'm watching him, and then I see a missile and I think, is that coming at me? Like it's coming straight at me. And then, you see it go over, or you see the Iron Dome blow it up. You see the Iron Dome coming from like 3 different directions in Israel because there's so many missiles to deal with.
When I hear ballistic missile, I think about Luke going ballistic on the radio saying,
well, because
that one's coming at us, guys.
I knew Josh and Nate were over here and my house is over here. And I saw him go over my house and then like it literally went straight down. I'm like, guys, everything okay? Right. Because it's, and we
were actually greeting the missiles. Because
Yeah.
we are on the southeastern tip of the Judean frontier. You could see the Dead Sea. We're like the last settlement before the Judean desert to the Dead Sea. So the first place that they were arriving, we were like, welcome to the land of Israel. Yeah. And I remember some were getting through and landing. I'm like, please Hashem, protect whoever that.
Yeah.
And miracles, just miracles.
No, here it was like the the interstate watching them go over, because it was just like north to south. But and then, I heard a huge, I kept it in my office because I was like, this is my piece of shrapnel. I went out on my front porch and all of a sudden, thunk, like 50 feet away in the driveway, just heard it just hit the ground, and went out a few minutes later and found it.
Can I say something that just blew me away?
Yeah.
Luke, you're not Jewish, right?
No.
You're not Jewish. But you're like, the Iranian attack, missiles are the largest ballistic missiles attack in history. And his thought was, how am I not there?
Exactly.
Why am I not back? That's unbelievable. Do you guys get what's going on here in Israel? And in fact, I think if you look at the Ukraine, which is a normal country, it's not a bad country. Russia is not a good country, not a bad country, it's just a country. Well, war happens, all the Ukrainians fled. I don't know many people that were like, why aren't I in Ukraine now? I want to be at the rockets. But that's unbelievable that's the heart of Israel.
The prophet Zechariah said, V'nilvu goyim rabim el Hashem b'yomahu. And the nations, meaning the righteous of the nations, will attach themselves to the house of Israel on that day. That's not just words and prayers, even though words and prayers are beautiful and great, but attaching yourself to the house of Israel. If a Nazi hit a Jew in their home in World War II, and that Jew is caught, I'm sorry, a German hit a Jew and that German was caught, what would happen? They would be in Auschwitz, right next to that Jew. When you attach yourself to the house of Israel, it means you are tying your fate in with the fate of Israel. You are casting your lot with Israel, and that shows up within your heart. Your heart's desire was to be here, being the target of hundreds of ballistic missiles.
So can I tell a story of something that I just, I got a brand new guard dog for the farm, and it was given to me by this special Jew in Canada. I went all the way there and I learned something amazing from this guy. And he's like watching this, what's happening in the world. It's just like, when a dog is attacked, when a person is attacked, the blood rushes to the vital organs in the center of the body. And when you look at Israel right now, there were 200,000 Israelis that after October 7th flew back from all around the world. People like Luke, people that were in treks, they just finished their army service. They're in India having a good time celebrating. They all,
on honeymoons,
100,000 came back to Israel, to the vital organs. And the ingathering of the exiles from around the world, the Jews to Israel, is like the heart of the world. And all those that are connected are just coming back. And the fact that we have that ability to see things, and that's the key. Meaning the only thing in the world that you can point your finger at, read the Bible and say, the Bible is true, God is real, Israel is alive. I see it. I can point at it. Everything else is a philosophy. Everything else is a theology. The only thing in the world, the only witness is Israel. So people that are connected to Israel in any way possible, they're actually connecting to the witness, to the truth of what's happening, because God's eye is on this land.
Beautiful.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking that's actually one of the reasons for the show. It's because people don't know. There's so many people out there in the world that we're speaking to right now that don't have the ability to be here, but they want to be. And that's who we're talking to right now. We're hoping to reach a broader audience that representation of Israel. You know, right now we got 50 anti-Israel views to 1 pro-Israel view on TikTok, many platforms, TikTok for sure. We're trying to balance this, and hopefully this show is going to balance that, and we're going to get the word out of what's happening here so that the enemies of Israel will be decreased because of knowledge, education, because we can tell the miracles. People are going to connect. Wow, there's something happening in Israel, and I'm on the wrong side of history. And hopefully we can do that by telling people the truth and the miracles of what happened as they happen. Because we're not going to be doing this We're going to be doing this every week. Come next week, we're going to be talking about what happened just next. We're not going to talk about all the year. 2024 is this show. Next show is going to be talking about, guys, what happened this week was incredible.
Right.
And I'm looking forward to continuing this together with you guys.
Josh, go ahead and talk about, I don't know, would we consider June 8th, you pulled up the date here, right? June 8th, 2024, maybe the most epic and daring hostage rescue since Entebbe, maybe?
I think there's no doubt about it. Historically, I don't think there's any such a thing that happened like it before. Entebbe was just, 150 or so rescued in Entebbe? I believe it was 150. This was 4, so that comparison is obviously rescuing 150.
Let's just call it the most epic since then, which
epic
was
since,
Entebbe
for
was,
sure, hands down.
I don't remember what year, but about 40 years ago, maybe.
Yeah. So Operation Arnon, named after an incredibly brave soldier who led the operation who was tragically killed in the line of duty, such a hero. And we have to remember him, 2024, he's like the 2024 version of Yoni Netanyahu, who led the rescue of the hostages from Entebbe. And really, this man is incredible, man.
I mean, painfully, there's thousands of Arnons.
Yeah, this 2024 and that has been a hard part. Recognizing the positives. There's been a lot of hardships. And
Tremendous.
And I just saw a thing with all the wives that are don't have husbands because of this war. I mean, this has been a hard year. We're not going to focus on the hard, but we have to remember the hard as we talk about it. And this epic point that now we'll move into was the positive side of this incredible thing. The IDF, the Shin Bet, the security agency of Israel, along with the Israeli police, held this incredibly daring, complex, one of the highest risk missions you could possibly do. And to the point right now, we know things about this that we can't talk about on the show, which just makes everybody really curious now, right?
And it's also cool that you're so trusted, not only from me and Jeremy, but by the nation of Israel at this point, that you know those things.
Yeah, yeah, right.
But I think the bottom line of it is and that kind of leads into probably one of our best or most memorable moments in 2024 is when we got to go inside of Gaza. Right. And some of the things we were told by a commander in the area was that there was a massive undercover operation to this hostage rescue that was going on probably even months in advance that led up to this. And it's just like the books that will be written in the
30 years
movies
from
that
now
will be made, 10 decades from now are going to be like just world class.
No imagination could have come up with these Hamas terrorists, terror tunnels deep underground. I mean, the greatest movie that I've ever seen, Mission Impossible, James Bond, nothing comes close to the scenarios that Israel actually had to live through and somehow successfully achieve them unbelievable.
And then right when you get impressed, you're like, wow, months they were working on this. Then you find out that 10 years ago, Israel was buying these pagers and selling them to Hezbollah.
Are we going to talk about that?
Playing a poker hand.
We got to talk about that.
We can talk about that.
Tell the story, Ari. This is probably the moment in 2024, right? The pager operation.
The pager. Everybody knows about the pager operation, but I remember, et chatotai ani maskir, my sins I shall confess. That as I was watching the video of these Hezbollah terrorists that had these pagers blown up, there was just an instinctive part of my heart that felt bad. That felt bad for them, just the human pain of it. And then I was like, wait a second. No, this is something we need to celebrate. We need to celebrate this. Well, you have to understand, Hezbollah is the Hamas of the north. And the horrific violation of the daughters of Israel in the south, Hamas putting babies into ovens as they raped the mother to the cry of the screaming baby, the degree of evil that we're facing. And they wanted to do that to the daughters of Israel in the north. And with the very organ that they wanted to violate the daughters of Israel, it was blown off them by a pager. It's something to be celebrated. We need to have it within us to understand that absolute pure evil incarnate needs to be destroyed. That's something that I think the West has lost, and there needs to be a moral clarity there.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what came to me this Hanukkah, because everyone celebrates Hanukkah. Even the New Testament, Jesus went up and celebrated Hanukkah in the temple, even though that's a rabbinic holiday. So that's what Hanukkah is the most famous Jewish holiday in the world. I was in Orlando and it said, Happy Hanukkah in the airport. I'm like, wow, that's really interesting. Like the whole world, Hanukkah's on the radio. Everyone knows Hanukkah. But Hanukkah was a part of a 25-year battle. And what we celebrate was in the third year. The third year, the temple was liberated and we lit the candles, and that little miracle of the 8 days, like that happened in the third year of a 25-year war. Why do we celebrate? And it was instituted almost immediately, meaning we were already celebrating the miracle of having the temple back, the miracle of the 8 days. It was unbelievable. It was like in the middle of the war, but there was a moment that they feel like we're going to win. It may be a long battle. That peeper moment for me was a Hanukkah moment. It was like a shift in the tide where everyone understood, oh, don't mess with Israel. That's something that no one ever imagined, that they had planted beepers 10 years earlier, surveillance, and they were just waiting for the time. I mean, it was like such an unbelievable moment that we were blessed to have such brilliance come through us into the world. But it was like a shift that I was like, from that moment, I was like, oh, this is going to be a year of triumph.
It wasn't only a blessing to us, but I don't know, if you're not a Jew, you can't really understand what this was. But after October 7th, every Jew in the world had their heads down. There were people marching in the capitals of the world saying, gas all the Jews. Are like, we're victims. We thought you would all be with us. And 3 days later, the viciousness and the attacks have been horrible, because when Israel is lowered, what the King David said it best, mashpil geim umagbia shafalim. God humbles the arrogant, but what else does he do? He raises up the humble. And that's what we have seen since October 7th. We were arrogant in our technology and in our this and in our that, and then we were humbled. And now God is raising up his humble nation of Israel.
I just want to say that the mission, a lot of people that outside that were critiquing Israel, as the whole world feels free to do constantly at a nonstop rate, one of their critiques was constantly is Israel is harming civilians, or whatever. No other word do they even care, but only when it comes to Israel, which there's not one Jew in the whole country that doesn't care about civilians that are not involved in a war, and that's another topic. But with this beeper thing, nobody could say that, because this was the most targeted strategic attack against soldiers that didn't harm anyone else. It was literally against the culprits of attack against Israel, and only them.
The same people, though, that blamed us then, they blamed us there also, and they were against the beeper attack.
And by the way, it's so boring. It's sad. I feel bad for those people, because they're like, in Operation Arnon, there were 3 civilians, and what are civilians doing in the middle of the Hamas thing?
And why are civilians holding them in their houses?
I question the civilianness of these civilians.
No, to be clear about that point, though, they were held in civilian homes, for goodness sakes. A so-called civilian.
Well, that's the whole point. If they're held in civilian homes, are they actually civilians? Yeah. But the point is, you're missing out on such an unbelievably epic, heroic, better than Hollywood story in order to be like, no, but there's, it's just boring. It's just boring. Yeah.
No, I think it's just amazing to like the whole story that's come out with the Mossad now, that they've been working on this for more than 10 years or something like that. They were literally testing every device to make sure that when they set them off, it would only kill or harm the individual that it was attached to. And then they went to great lengths that every beeper and radio went to a Hezbollah soldier, so that these were only in the hands of terrorists. Like, is there any other nation or military in the world that does things like this?
There was great parodies that came out of it too.
Go ahead. Yeah, no, the memes were incredible and still circling the internet, I think. But no, I think it's just so crazy that the opposite of what the world claims about Israel and the Jewish people is actually what's happening. Like, they claim they're targeting civilians, and Israel is the most moral military in the world. They claim they're starving Gaza. We literally drove into the fence of Gaza, and the first thing we saw was hundreds and hundreds of pallets of food just stacked up, waiting to be distributed inside of Gaza. And they told us the number, I think it was 200 trucks a day or something that were delivering this. And what happens? Hamas confiscates
Sometimes
it right away.
I feel like, though, these accusations against us, however lie and untrue they are, maybe we should lean in. Maybe we should say, oh, you think we're starving Gaza? Well, how about not raping, murdering, pillaging, torturing innocent people, babies? You mess with Israel, that's what you get.
Exactly.
That's what you get. It's not actually, but the problem is that we're not. They're getting more calories a day than I am.
I think
you made a face like Ari. You looked at yourself.
I'm in the same boat, so I got you there. But I think the bottom line is, it's like there's nothing Israel's ever going to do that's going to like convince the world, at least the anti-Semitic world, that they're like moral or good enough. And so like Israel shouldn't care, right? Israel should be strong for Israel.
And moral. But we're moral because not to impress the world or get their blessing, but because we are a nation that fears God and understands that there's right and wrong, but not in order to get approval of the world that doesn't care. Because countries don't have friends; they have interests.
Israel should do what they need to do to win. They should do what they need to do to take out the bad guys. They should do what they do to reach victory, to destroy Hamas, destroy Hezbollah, Houthis in Yemen, Iran, if needed, get the hostages back. Like that's the bottom line. They shouldn't care.
And part of it is to understand who your enemy is and what their love language is, right? And to understand what does it mean for them to lose. And one of the primary things it means for them to lose is to lose territory. If in their minds, if they're losing territory, they're losing the war. And if they're gaining territory, they're winning the war. And so as the Jews of the north had to flee, the Jews of the south had to flee, Israel is shrinking. They're saying, we're winning this war.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's so clear and obvious we need to settle Gaza with Jews, not just because of them and making them feel like they've lost, but because this is Israel. This is Israel. They're waking us up and opening our eyes to a truth that unfortunately we didn't see on our own through love of God and fear of God. So it's coming through them, but they're serving as a catalyst for what is going to unfold into what I believe is redemption.
Well, I'll tell you, not just from a Torah law perspective, but an international law perspective. When a nation is attacked, like in the 6-Day War, and we were attacked and we liberated Judea and Samaria and Jerusalem, that now belongs to you according to international law, aside from the Torah law. Now, Israel is being set up in an amazing position. We're called the Land of Israel Network because we love the land of Israel. We're being attacked inside the land of Israel. Then we should, by international law, by the Torah law, by what's right, reclaim that, resettle it. It's not enough to just beat the darkness. We have to expel the darkness. Obviously, we have to get rid of the Hamas and jihad and anyone that wants to kill innocent people. And then we have to bring the light. We have to bring law and order and sovereignty in homes and in factories and buildings. And that will be the real victory. Because the last war that Israel won was the 6-Day War. That was the last war that we can look back to and be like, that was a miracle. Yeah. Israel won that war. Why? Because we took back Judea, Samaria, Jerusalem, and the Golan Heights, and we actually won the war. When we win is when Gaza is resettled again, when we actually have Gush Katif rebuilt.
Well, I think, Jeremy, the lesson we have to learn is we didn't really win that war. That's the lesson we have to learn. If we won that war, like you're saying now, then we would have seen the jihad in there, thrown every jihadist out of the country, and that's better than what they deserve, and settled the land and declared sovereignty over Judea, Samaria, the heartland of Israel. That would have been winning the war. We're learning the lesson now. Exactly what you just said is learning the lesson.
That's true.
Winning the war isn't just pushing Hamas a little bit out. It's filling it with light.
So this is a good spiritual point, though, because we know what's right to do, and the world isn't allowing it. Israel isn't allowing it. What do we do now? Well, here you all are in Har Bracha at the edge of settlement, surrounded by enemies in Samaria. We're doing our best in Judea, and we're just doing what's right. And what that offers us is an opportunity. And that's really what's happening now around the world. For all our listeners, it's an opportunity. Very soon, everyone is going to want to be on Israel's side. Everyone's going to want to be our friend. But right now, there's an opportunity to choose the Israel guys, to choose Israel, to stand with us just because it's right, even if it's not the most popular thing. It's like to go to Samaria because Samaria is in the Bible. Everything in the Bible happened in Samaria. Everything happened in Judea. This is biblical Israel. So we're just going to do what's right before it's a politically correct and politically right.
That's right.
Yeah, it's an opportunity.
You know, this leads me into my question, because look, I mean, one of the big events in 2024, right, is like Israel literally took out probably more high-ranking terrorist leaders around the world than ever. You know,
well,
like
I heard America had a big list of ones they wanted to take out for like 20 years, and they didn't do it.
Like
and then Israel did it with like a couple months.
Military has like $10 million bounties on some of these guys' heads. But I was looking at it, and then I realized there's no way I'm going to be able to list all of the assassinations that have taken place. So my question is, how in the world does Hamas, how in the world does Hezbollah, Iran, how is anybody willing to take these guys' place? Because they get promoted and 48 hours later.
Well, I think for me, above the beeper situation was the replacements that came, like Nasrallah, and then the next guy, and then the next guy. It was like, you idiots.
Yeah, they had memes coming out where this guy was like this guy's like, no, he's the leader. I'm not me.
And they were literally taken out.
It's just
one after the other.
It's so funny, because there's like a lot of Jewish comedians in the world. There's like we're like such a small people, but there's a lot of Jewish comedians. So there's like a funny thing about Jews. So I have a nephew who's in the commando unit in Nachal, served a year and a half, literally just in Gaza every day, like fighting the forces of evil. And he was saying, like, how do they get through it? They just laugh and they joke, and they were making up a little skit, and they were saying, "Excuse me, sir, you are now number 2 of Hamas." And he's like, no, I'm number 8. I don't want to be number 2. I'm number 8. And it was just like so funny, because the world had never seen the terrorists be just taken down. And all you can do is laugh at the wonders of Israel.
And when we come from this place of humility, like we've been humbled so much, then we're able to come and say, clearly we can be humbled. We're not this superhero nation. Yeah. This is all from God. This is actually what I learned from my beloved friend and Rebbe and mentor, the king of Hasbara and teaching in Israel, Yishai Fleischer. Because he's not only an excellent speaker and a man of truth, but he's also on the front lines in Hebron. And he said that when he deals with these Arab jihadists, he says to them, don't you understand that Allah is with us? Allah is with us. Why are we winning every single war We're overwhelmingly outnumbered by you, outweaponed, and we're winning because Allah is with us. Stand with Allah and stand with Israel and the Jewish people. That's a message they can appreciate.
Yeah, that's a message that's confusing, though. Do you know what I mean? It really, when I hear that, I'm like, well, I don't know what they're meaning.
By the way, if I misquoted Yishai, I'm sorry, Yishai.
No, I'm just saying,
let you do your own talking.
If we would have just said the God of Abraham, because they've been tricked. They really believe that they're serving the God of Abraham, where clearly the children, they can't serve the God of Israel while trying to eradicate and kill the children of Israel. That doesn't make any sense in the land of Israel. So if they want to serve the God of Abraham, then they should really love the children of Abraham, and we should all get along. That would be better, because they are serving Allah, and Allah just may be the other side. Do you know what I mean? I don't know, because it's just names and titles, but it's confusing. But I understand what Isha is trying to say. If
you translate God in Arabic, it's Allah, but there's an entity Allah that's kind of
right. But I think part of our job as Jews is a certain conceptual liberation, and to help bring them to a place of greater light. And so they may think and understand this as Allah, but when they see that the God of Israel is blessing the children of Israel through the Torah and through the land, and we're saying Allah is with us, we're saying, come here, meaning there's an empowerment to that.
Sure. Well, I mean, I'll tell you, I went to Europe this last summer, and I saw that on the most famous church in the world that I wanted to go visit, there was a picture, a sculpture at the entrance of the synagogue. It was like a blinded woman with a snake around her head, and like there was like a replacement theology deep within the Notre Dame Catholic Church. And so replacement theology and misunderstandings, they think they were serving the God of Abraham too. So we're just living through another type of, this is a replacement theology that they really want to kill us. They want to replace us so badly. So it's just another thing that Israel's got to fight through to hopefully bring the world to the Abraham Accords. And by the way,
yes,
I'm officially stating that this is the first spiritual Abraham Accords. That's what this show really is for me.
I like it.
That's what this show is for me. We are just bringing the children of Abraham together. That's how I see it. That's a crazy announcement.
I hope you guys are writing down Rabbi Jeremy Gimpel's predictions for 2025.
Yeah, right.
So, obviously, we could go on and on about the epic things that have happened in 2024, the attacks, the number of missiles. I want to just take a couple of minutes. Like, what are some like positive things that we saw in the last year? What excited you?
Okay,
I got Jeremy, you got to go.
Great. Okay, so I want to talk about, like, we had, let's say, the song of the year. Spoke about that because, without, like, words can only express so much, but a song is like deeper than just words. So when the nation has a song, that's an amazing thing about the nation. Then I want to talk about what was the craze from October 7th, end of 2023 and 2024 in the military that I saw personally. Every soldier had a craze that they wanted tzitzit.
Yeah.
Everyone wanted tzitzit. And that is, they didn't want to keep up.
Explain that for people in case people don't even know.
Numbers 16 is a biblical command that we should wear tzitzit like these on the corner of our garments. And that is directly from the Torah. This is a little bit more of a Jewish tradition in order to like make us separate, in order to recognize God. That's not in the Bible. This is from the Torah. And what happened was people weren't interested in Jewish traditions. They wanted to go to the Torah.
Yeah.
And they saw it as a shield of protection. And they wanted every protection that they could get. And they realized that their protection isn't from the bulletproof vests. They all wanted tzitzit. And they didn't have kippas, and they had tattoos, and they had earrings, and they were just sold the whole country. And there were people making tzitzit.
Can I tell you, I had friends, the synagogues were packed out with people to go make these.
Exactly.
Military green, because it had to be the colors, because if it shone, a military color had to be, so they didn't have enough. And the synagogues around here, I had friends that were gathering parties together to make these quickly because they needed thousands of them.
There were synagogues in Israel, in Samaria, in Judea. There were synagogues in America. There weren't enough people. Because imagine how long it takes to tie these things. That takes a long, and there's 4 of them on every garment, and there's hundreds of thousands of soldiers that needed them. They're just whoever.
And who's tying them? The communities.
Green, who's going to have green tzitzit? That was like a never seen. You can't buy those in the store. Not really. Maybe you could buy a few, but there wasn't enough. And it was the craze of the military. And I was like, wow, the Israeli army. The reason why Ari and I are so proud to Ari serving right now.
Look at you right now. You're in a uniform.
The IDF. Well, he has the honor of serving in the first Jewish army since the times of King David.
Yeah.
That's real. And now what we're seeing is like, instead of it being the Israeli army, it really is God's army. And they understand that. Well, that's why there wasn't a craze for bulletproof vests. There really wasn't. There wasn't a craze where people had to go, they were like, okay, we need to get bulletproof vests. There was a craze over tzitzit. And to me, that was such a symbolic reality that the army of Israel is changing into the army of Israel.
I'll say that for me, I mean, there's so many things. Just something that just popped into my mind right now as Jeremy's talking about what's happening in the hearts, is there used to be a voice in Israel. I never thought it was a majority voice, but it was a loud voice that Judea and Samaria, the West Bank, they're the reason that the world hates us. There's the reason that there's the jihad. That's what it's all about. And then October 7th happened in the communities of the South, and the whole nation was horrified and traumatized. And there were moments of actual existential fear, I think, in the hearts of almost every Jew, recognizing this could be it. If Hezbollah attacks right now, Hamas attacks right now, and they all jump in right now, this could be it. And to have even a moment like that, or days like that, of recognizing the existential danger that we're in, feeling so in God's hands, so vulnerable, that was a tremendous awakening for us. But at the same time, now, when I meet the same type of people who used to be like, oh, the settlements, they're like, you guys are the tip of the spear. You are heroes. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for your service, they say, even if you're not in the army. Thank you for your service, because they understand that without Judea and Samaria, there would be October 7th happening right now in Ra'anana and Nes Tziona and in Tel Aviv and Netanya, and they would be happening right there. And so there's a gratitude and a connection to Judea, because Judea is not just a geographical place. It's an idea. It's an identity. The reason Jews are called Jews is because we're from Judea. And so there's a connection not only on a spiritual, religious level, but on an actual physical, geographical, terrestrial level to the land, and to ultimately the identity of who we are as Jews. And so when we wake up, then the world starts to wake up as well.
Well, look at that map right there. From the very tip of Samaria right there, just to the water, I know for a fact that that's 9 miles wide.
True. Yep.
So what country could survive? Imagine if the Ukraine was only 9 miles wide. How long would the war last with Russia? Maybe it would have lasted a few hours in the morning. So people are now realizing, wow, Judea and Samaria, God forbid that we live in a miracle, surrounded by one sheep, surrounded by wolves. And then we woke up like, whoa, we could really be attacked. And now people are starting to realize on a very practical, real level, Judea and Samaria is the bulletproof vest for all of Israel.
I mean, you know that story. Bush said to Sharon, they were up in a helicopter looking down at Judea and Samaria. And Sharon explained that without Judea and Samaria, Israel is 9 miles wide. And Bush was like, 9 miles wide? We got driveways longer than that in Texas.
Oh, exactly.
It's impossible to defend a country.
What do we have? About 7 million, 8 million Jews living in Israel today?
Right.
That's about the number. Mm-hmm. And we're surrounded by some 400 million. Yishai Fleischer mentioned earlier, likes to talk about this. That's really the stats. A lot of people like to think that Israel is this aggressor. And that's part of our education here. How can 6-7 million be the aggressor over 400 million hostile people around them that want to finish them.
That's why
that's the reality.
Yeah.
They need to secularize it and politicize it and say this is about an Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Where what is Palestine? It's a fiction. It's an invented fiction. It's not real. And to say that, well, then it's a political thing as opposed to Jewish conflict with global jihad. And now all of a sudden, Israel is not the Goliath. We're the little David, so facing a Goliath that proportionally is much stronger than the actual Goliath was to David.
Right. On topic of Judea and Samaria, I think the world has not only shifted from two-state solution, Palestinian state is like the norm and the priority, to now like, oh, you know what? No, that can never happen. And obviously, people are still going to talk about it. The UN's still going to talk about it. The ICC, the ICJ. European Union, they're still going to push for this, but I think everyone in Israel knows, and I think the sane world knows this can never, ever happen. And I think a really good indicator of that in 2024 is the terminology is now changing. All of the media in the world has always said West Bank or occupied territories, right? If you really get like someone that knows what they're talking about, they might say disputed territories, but that's like the best you're going to get. Nobody ever says Judea and Samaria. Nobody knows that Jerusalem is part of the West Bank, right? Nobody says heartland. Nobody knows that this is the biblical heartland of Israel. That's shifted. That's now changing.
Largely because of you guys.
No, we're not there yet. But yeah, we were part of an amazing resolution along with some other organizations and people that helped spearhead this in the NRB, which is the National Religious Broadcasters Convention in February 2024, a resolution for the media to start saying Judea and Samaria. And now we're even seeing the United States government starting to, people that have common sense in the government actually pushing for this.
Tom Cotton, right?
Senator Tom Cotton has introduced a bill in the Senate for the government of the United States to stop using incorrect terminology on official U.S. documents. Now,
because we could spend another hour talking about why it's nonsense and how the Arab world has just created this term in order to delegitimize and demonize the people of Israel. Because, like you said, Jews are known as Jews because of Judea.
That's the bottom line.
Bottom line.
Like, if you say the West Bank, it's like, yeah, we can argue all day. But as soon as you say Judea, people are like, oh, wait.
Well, that's part of the reason why they changed it.
Get the settlers out of the West Bank and then get the Jews out of Judea. That's why they
two things. One, Jews, Judea, it's like that's an automatic connect in people's brain. And the other thing is, if you read the Bible, if you're a Christian or a Jew, if you're Judea, if you have those values, you're like, Judea, doesn't the Bible talk about that? Like, didn't David live in Judea?
Here's the funny thing. West Bank didn't even come about till 1964 or something. That's really not that long ago.
Look at a map from 300. The Palestinian, what is that?
What are you talking about?
It's even worse than that. Like, what is it west of? It's west of Jordan. Jordan has no claim on that land. They don't want that land.
Nobody even recognized it.
It's totally an illogical name to call it the West Bank, but better to call it the West Bank occupying settlers evacuate than saying, hey, Jews, get out of Judea.
You're exactly right.
It does pain me a little bit that it took you guys, that it took Tom Cotton, one of the fights that happened within our camp that I have regularly with heroes of mine that are the best spokesmen, is they use the word Palestinian. And I think it's because they feel like they need to be within the consensus. They need to be able to use that word to be taken seriously, but you're actually losing the war. Right. You have a wife, Caitlin. Let's say I said, well, I identify as Caitlin's husband. You're going to punch me in the face, and that's better than what I deserve. Yeah. Why? Because that's your wife. Yeah. To say Palestine, we're already losing the whole war. Right. It's a fiction that was created in order to negate our very existence, and we're using the word of this fake nation. Who was the prime minister of Palestine? Yeah. What was their currency? There's never been a more inauthentic, fictitious people in the history of the world, and people are siding with them against the most indigenous nation to any land in the history of the world. Right. And we're using the word Palestinian. And so I'm so relieved when I hear you guys and you're spearheading that. In some ways, that's, I guess, how it has to go. We need that strength to come in front of that to at this point of our growth.
That's why I believe that this work here is so holy and important. Because yes, the NRB is just in the media. It's just people. It's just entertainment. It's just radio and television. It's like, no. That's actually what changes the politicians to pass laws because politics is just the branch, but the education is striking at the roots. That's right. And that's what's going to change the branches. So yeah, it's
I think, our mission is to the world, right? To get the world to change their terminology, to come to Judea and Samaria, to change the perspective, to stand strongly. Your guys' mission, is because and that's why this is so cool. It's like you guys got to get Israel to change and stand on their 2 feet too. Because just this week we're watching Jerusalem Post talk about a terror attack in the West Bank. Like even J Post is still not saying Judea and Samaria, but we can get that to change. You know, and the ironic thing is maybe if the rest of the world will do it, then maybe Israel will actually wake up and do it as well. But I think we got a job to do on both sides, and that's what's so cool about this.
Totally.
Yeah, and by the way, there's also a job we have to the world. From Zion, the Torah will come forth, and the word of God from Jerusalem.
That's right.
We're supposed to not only share that message with our words, but with our very essence and with who we are. So we have a job to the world, and maybe this show is actually the merger, the synthesis of that, because you also have a job to the nation of Israel, to comfort my people. You are comforting the nation of Israel. You are strengthening the nation of Israel. I know every time I see you, what do I say? Hebrew subtitles. Hebrew subtitles. Because I'm telling you, so many Jews would hear your message and be strengthened by it and say, wow, these are people that they're not trying to convert us, to change us. They just want to come and love us and support us in whatever way we need. Yeah. And that is just such a powerful message.
Okay, so I want to just add to that. If our job then is to bring Torah, I would love to at least say a Torah for this upcoming Torah portion.
Let's do it.
Okay, so this is the last Torah portion of the week, and then we're going to enter into the book of Exodus. And Exodus is really sort of the beginning of the Torah. It's like the Jews, Sinai, the Torah is given, the 10 Commandments. It's like we've a nation of Israel. But then there's the book of Genesis that we're about to end, and that doesn't, like the Torah is given much later as a nation, and that's the whole point. Meaning when I think about 2024, the thing that touches my heart the most, and I still watch them and it still touches my heart, and sometimes it brings tears to my eyes when I watch the coming home videos. I don't know if there's like a famous song of the coming home videos. And so like a father that's been in Gaza and they got little kids and his wife, and they come home and it's just like
everybody cries.
Everyone cries, right? And so why? It's because of the Torah.
Yeah.
Because all the book of Genesis, we're not a nation, we're a family. Yeah. It's just a family that lived in Egypt because we came down to Egypt. That family then was enslaved, became a nation in slavery, and became the nation of Israel, but it was the children of Israel. And so that is so important because what's happening here is family. I don't exactly know all the details and the terminologies, but ultimately I know that the vision is a brotherhood of man under the fatherhood of God. A brotherhood of man, that's family. We're brothers. And when we have that connection, it doesn't really matter. Meaning, if God is in the center of our lives, then we are all just ultimately going to be one huge family with one God and one planet. And that is the vision and I think the message of why we started off the entire Torah, we're ending now the book of Genesis. It's the end of the family, the beginning of the nation. But never forget the nation of Israel, what the whole foundation is family. And that's why those videos are so memorable from 2024, because it's all just the beauty and love of family, because love will conquer all the hate and all the Hamas and all the evil. Love will win, and love is all in family.
You know, one of the things Hamas said that the reason that they launched this war was about the Temple Mount, about the temple, that Israel has brought in these red heifers. Their commanders said that. And so there's an idea that whatever you resist persists, that if you fear something and you allow that fear to be within you, you will maximize the probability of that happening. A famous sage of Israel said, it's like putting a plank of wood across the room. Walk across that plank of wood very easily. Take the same plank between two tall buildings. You're probably going to fall. Why? The fear makes it happen. And so they so feared this redemption and the building of the temple that they fought against it in such a way that they don't realize that they have woken us up, exactly as Jeremy just said, to before October 7th, the Supreme Court, the political fragmentation, the hatred within Israel. October 8th, we were mad about the Supreme Court. We hated each other. We're a family, and a family you love regardless of any differences you have. And when that family part of the nation of Israel wakes up, that is the beginning of a waking up for the family of all of mankind. And so what Hamas didn't realize that they did was they sparked the unfolding of redemption with what they thought was the battle against it.
And that you're never going to see on Fox News or CNN. That's the truth. What you're hearing here at this table is the heart of Israel. It's what's really happening, and you can only find it here. And that's why this is so important.
I think it all comes down to we're living and like watching and participating in the redemption of God's kingdom in the land of Israel. We're all a part of it. We're all honored to be here. It's just amazing to be able to be on this journey. I think this was awesome, guys. We already over an hour mark. We could go for another hour easily. But we want to hear from you guys. What you think? Put it down in the comments section. We want you to subscribe to both of our channels. You guys are doing your own media. You're all over social media. I think you guys are like on X every week too, almost. But is the Land of Israel Fellowship like the biggest initiative that you guys have right now?
Yeah, the Land of Israel Fellowship is just a global community of our fans and followers and friends. They're really our best friends in the world. I mean, Caitlin, she's on there. Yeah, it's like we're just...
Some of them, I consider them actually my teachers. I'm inspired by so many of the people. They make us just as much as we make them. That's the truth.
So you guys got to check out the Land of Israel Fellowship, thelandofisrael.com.
Yeah, thelandofisrael.com. Like the last year we entered a little bit of Torah. This was just like more like a round table. The Land of Israel Fellowship is really a much more Torah oriented, but it's Torah where we have rabbis on. We actually have a Catholic monk with the Obi-Wan Kenobi garb and everything. Really, we have like nuns with the things like from so many backgrounds, so many different religions, and it's all just together learning Torah from Israel, which is awesome.
With your permission, there are times I look and I feel like, I know this is a sort of a scary thing to say, dangerous thing to say, but I sometimes feel like there's a deep subconscious resentment on behalf of the nations against Israel for not being who we're supposed to be. And we can only really be who we're supposed to be when we're in the land of Israel. That's when we flourish. That's when we're a fish that's back in the water. And so now that we're back in the water, I think that this fear that we've had of the nations of the world can be replaced with a love and a blessing. And so with your permission, if you're already winding down, which is what I thought, I love to end broadcast with blessing. Yeah, blessing the nations of the world, blessing everybody that's watching this. And it's the blessing that the high priests of Israel give to the nation of Israel in the land of Israel every single day, the children of Aaron. Now, I'm not a child of Aaron. I'm, I believe, from the tribe of Judah. My name is Ari Yehuda, the Lion of Judah, but what do I know? Yeah. Who knows? But the Bible tells us we're an Am Kohanim, a nation of priests. And with that, it would be my great privilege to bless all of you here and all around the world.
Please do.
Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
Amen.
May God bless and protect you. May He shine His light and His countenance upon you. And may He give you peace. Amen.
Amen.
Guys, rabbis Ari Abramowitz, Jeremy Gimpel, the Land of Israel Network, thelandofisrael.com. You're going to want to go deeper with them. My one goal for next week is to get this one gnat out of the show here. Yeah. It's been flying around in front of all of our faces.
My father would always say, there's a fly flying around, and he would take a knife and he'd got it. And I was like, but it's still flying around. He says, yes, but it will never reproduce again. You can cut that out.
No, it's staying in. It's staying in. Guys, make sure you subscribe to the Israel Guys channel. Or if you're listening, follow us. Make sure you subscribe to the Land of Israel Network channel. We'll be back next Friday, guys. Let us know what you think. Right. Reach out to us, both of us. We'd love to hear from you.
2025 is going to be the best year ever.
I believe it.
Amen. We're excited. We are so excited, guys. As always, stop listening to the lies and the propaganda and connect with what's really happening here in the Land of Israel. We'll be back next week here at the Israel Guys and the Land of Israel Network.